Click, clack, moo. Click, clack, moo. Farmer Brown, the Cybertruck gear shift is a touchscreen on the ceiling. We'd really like a mechanical gear shift, Farmer Brown. In exchange, I don't know, man, we'll buy some stock. It's a depressing version of that.
Ethereum, how's about that?
Hello, and welcome to a special bonus episode for Nostalgia Club. I'm Victoria, and I'm joined by... It's a standoff.
Cut all this out. Jino!
And Michael.
I'm keeping it in.
No!
You can't tell me what to do.
It's an off-the-rails day.
Yeah. So normally we talk about books that we generally have nostalgia for, and usually they're like full series or a whole movie or TV show, but I've been wanting to do a picture book episode for a while. And a picture book's not very long, but I thought it'd be fun to pay homage to some of the picture books that we loved as kids, and we'll read them aloud so you can enjoy them as well. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see the pictures, but if there's a particularly fun illustration, I suppose we'll describe it. I just thought it'd be fun to talk about these, even if it's outside of a normal frame of an episode. So what we did is each of us picked a picture book that we liked as a youngin'.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And we're going to read them. So who wants to go first?
Should we flip a coin?
A three-sided coin?
Heads it's Michael, tails it's Victoria.
But what about you?
If it lands perfectly on its side, then it's Jino. Do you have a coin?
Oh, I was just going to flip a coin on my phone.
We'll flip my phone.
Oh, flip a digital coin.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Wait, if we're using technology, we don't have to do a coin flip. We can do like a random number generator, 1 to 3.
Rats.
I'm the oldest, so I pick 2.
I'll pick 1.
I guess I have to pick 3. That's 1.
It's me.
The one who didn't want to go first.
All right. Hello, class. For today's show and tell, I've brought the book Click, Clack, Moo by Doreen Cronin, illustrated by Bestie Lewin.
Ooh.
And I hope I'm saying those names right.
I'm sure
Just
you
a
are.
quick preface, since we're reading things aloud, we will probably pronounce things wrong. Apologies to the authors and the original storytellers. It's just the nature of it.
Yeah, reading's hard.
Have you ever read Click Clack Boo?
I don't know if I have. Victoria, have you read Click Clack?
I'm sure I have. Like, I remember reading it. I don't remember anything about it. So
Gosh, it says
I'm
a lot
excited.
when you can be like, Victoria, have you read X book? And you're like, probably.
Yeah. At this point.
Victoria's read every book.
Every book.
No, I wish. My list of books to read is still ages long.
Now, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Before we jump into Click Clack Mood, tell us, Jino, how old were you when you read just some basic info?
Yeah, why'd you pick this book?
I picked this book because I looked up children's books from the 2000s, and I saw it, and I went, I remember that one. And I read it, and I was like, hey, it's pretty good.
Nice.
I don't remember anything else about it.
Great.
But I read it as a child. So that meets the criteria.
Yeah, that fulfills the criteria.
I thought to ask my family, can you remember what my favorite picture books are? But I also remember that my parents purged my house of all picture books.
Ooh.
Not for any malicious reason, but just to make space, when your kids move out, you have a bunch of stuff in the house that you're not going to use for the rest of your life. You might as well donate it to local charities or whatnot. So there is no record of what picture books I liked as a child anymore. It's gone. It doesn't exist. But I remember Click Clack Moo. So I'm going to be reading that.
Yay.
Woo.
I'm excited.
Me too.
So am I going to be showing you that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Read a little bit and turn it around like it's story time.
No, sorry. A quick story before we go into this. One of my favorite childhood memories is when I was in elementary school. We would go to the library for our library time, and our librarian would sit in this big comfy chair, and she would read a book to us. How librarians are just good at showing books. I don't know.
They've got that arm hand
the
posture.
perfect technique for holding the book so that they can both read it and you can see the pictures. And then she would always like read it and then she would show it. She'd like sweep it around the circle just so everyone could get a good look at it. And also every week, I think we would rotate and like each student would get a chance to like sit in the chair during reading time. So it's like during story time, like the librarian always sits in the chair, but then afterwards, just open reading time. And when it's your week, you get to sit in the big comfy chair.
A hallowed honor.
Yeah.
Life used to be so simple.
I know.
What happened? Okay. Click, clack, moo. Huh.
Hey, it's like an audiobook. But for legal reasons, this is not an audiobook. Yeah. This is Creative Commons.
Yeah.
Farmer Brown has a problem. His cows like to type. All day long he hears click, clack, moo, click, clack, moo, clickety, clack, moo. Now the question is, will I replace those moos with actual moos? I could make this book really annoying to listen to. And then there's like a picture of Farmer Brown and he looks, as the kids say, PO'd. At first, he couldn't believe his ears. Cows that type? Impossible! Click, clack, moo, clickety, clack, moo.
Actually, yeah, this one would lend itself well to just like incessant typing in the background.
Yeah. No, this is a very sound effects full picture book. Dear Farmer Brown. Should I give out the cows a voice?
Do it.
You gotta.
Dear Farmer Brown, the barn is very cold at night. We'd like some electric blankets. Sincerely, Pooh from Winnie the Pooh. Sincerely, the cows.
The cows are unionizing.
Yes, that's what the book's about.
Yeah.
It was bad enough the cows had found the old typewriter in the barn, but now they wanted electric blankets. No way! Hold on, he needs a voice too. No way, said Farmer Brown. No electric blankets! So the cows went on strike. They left a note on the barn door. Sorry, we're closed. No milk today.
Honestly, that's on Farmer Brown. He left a typewriter in the barn.
He's drastically underestimating his livestock.
Yeah.
No milk today, cried Farmer Brown. In the background, he heard the cows busy at work. Click, clack, moo, clickety, clack, moo. The next day, he got another note. Dear Farmer Brown, the hens are cold too. They'd like electric blankets. Sincerely, the cows. The cows were growing impatient with the farmer. They left a new note on the barn door. Now I gotta give a voice to the hens. Closed! No milk! No eggs! No eggs! Cried Farmer Brown. In the background, he heard then, click, clack, moo, clickety, clack, moo. Cows that type! Hens on strike! Who ever heard of such a thing? How can I run a farm with no milk and no eggs? Farmer Brown was furious. Farmer Brown got out his own typewriter. Dear cows and hens, there will be no electric blankets. You are cows and hens. I demand milk and eggs. Sincerely, Farmer Brown. Duck was a neutral party, so we brought the ultimatum to the cows. The cows held an emergency meeting. All the animals gathered around the barn to snoop, but none of them could understand moo. All night long, Farmer Brown waited for an answer. And I just like this image because it's like when the news stations gather around the building where they decide the new pope. I don't know. I just, side tangent, the first time I heard how they chose the new pope, I've been fascinated with that ever since. The fact that just like they lock all the like officials in a big building and then they just wait outside until the smoke turns a certain color and they're like, all right.
Wait, that's how they choose the new pope?
Pope time. So they write down all their votes on pieces of paper, and then at the end of the day, they burn all the slips of paper if the pope didn't get enough votes. And so you can tell by the smoke coming out of the chimney if they've chosen a new pope yet. And so when the smoke, I think, burns white, then there's a new pope.
I see.
I think that's how it is.
I was like, that's crazy if they were like, the paper will tell us who the pope should be. Like
it's some kind of ritualistic.
Yeah, I'd be like, what?
Which means that like news outlets covering the story will just be forced to shoot a shot of a smoking chimney for like days on end. And that's the only hint of the Pope news.
Yeah.
Which I think is very funny.
That is very funny.
I gotta say though, probably the most hype the most hype way you could ever amp up smoke coming out of a chimney.
Duck knocked on the door early the next morning. He handed Farmer Brown a note. Dear Farmer Brown, we will exchange our typewriter for electric blankets. Leave them outside the barn door, and we will send Duck over with the typewriter. Sincerely, the cows. Farmer Brown decided that this was a good deal. He left the blankets next to the barn door and waited for Duck to come with the typewriter.
Okay.
Here they are with the blankets.
Wow.
They look so cozy.
Oh, they do look cozy.
They're so
I
happy.
want an electric blanket.
Electric blankets are great.
Definitely a fire hazard in this hay-strewn barn.
Yeah.
The next morning, he got a note. Now they need a voice too. Dear Farmer Brown, the pond is quite boring. We'd like a diving board. Sincerely, the ducks. Click, clack, quack. Click, clack, quack. Clickety, clack, quack. There they are. They have,
They're so cute.
there they get their diving board.
Yay.
There we go. It's about collective action, unionizing against the man.
Woo!
The man being Farmer Brown. And how technology can empower communities.
Wow.
So my question for you is, the cows get a good deal? Because they traded their means of communication for comfort, right? But now they can't make more demands.
That's true. I mean, they could go on strike again. They just wouldn't be able to communicate what their demands are.
I guess that's a compromise.
Wait, did the ducks give back the typewriter?
No, they stole the typewriter.
Stole it. Okay,
and now
so
they have their own
the
demands.
ducks have it. So technically the cows still could demand things.
The cows would have to take the typewriter back from the duck. Now, it is established in the lore of the book that the animals can't communicate directly with each other because they all speak their own language.
Oh, I see.
Because the other animals can't understand moo.
Ah.
The implication being that the cows and the chickens can talk to each other and that they somehow got this to the duck, but we don't know that the ducks speak moo.
They can all write in English.
They all understand the king's English. That's my book.
Woo!
Yay!
Thank you. Who's next?
Now, do we do the coin?
Okay. Just for fun. Michael.
So I brought a rather old picture book,
Ooh.
old quote unquote, called The Runaway Bunny by Margaret Wise Brown with pictures by Clement Hurd.
Isn't Margaret Wise Brown the author who wrote Goodnight Moon?
Indeed she is.
Yeah.
A legend.
A legend.
A legend indeed. Her life was actually quite fascinating in terms of how independent she was and how much she traveled, the different relationships she had with different people. She didn't have any kids of her own ultimately, though I think she did date and or marry or was engaged to a Rockefeller
Whoa.
at some point.
Oh, to live an interesting life.
Not a lot of people knew all the full details of her life. She was like in a relationship with a woman in France for, it seemed like 20 years or something.
Oh, wow.
And they were like cohabitating.
But they were just roommates, Michael.
I was about to say.
Roommates that shared one bed.
Just to save money.
Yeah, wild connections. In the summer of 1940, Brown began a long-term relationship with Blanche Ulrichs, pen name of Michael Strange, who was a poet, playwright, and actress, and the former wife of John Barrymore, a.k.a. the Hollywood Barrymores, like Drew Barrymore.
Wow.
Ooh.
The relationship, which began as a mentoring one, eventually became romantic and included cohabiting at 10 Gracie Square, New York, beginning in 1943. I think, it says Ulrichs was almost 20 years Brown's senior. But they were just living life. But then Ulrichs died in 1950. It seems like in 1952, though, that's when she met James Stillman Rockefeller Jr. at a party, and they became engaged. But that same year, she passed away.
Whoa.
Tragically, of an embolism. She had surgery for a ruptured appendix. And I guess after it, to show how well she was feeling, she kicked up her leg to show the doctors how well she was feeling, but that caused a blood clot that had formed in her leg to travel up to her heart. And
Oof.
As unfortunate as it is, that was that. Life comes at you fast, and so does the end sometimes. But I guess there's this quote from Rockefeller himself, who said, "She was so full in her own life, and yet there must have been a lack somewhere along the line. But whether she would like an ordinary marriage with children, I just couldn't really see her in that." And it's so interesting because she wrote all of these books, the most famous being Goodnight Moon, it seems, as well as The Runaway Bunny, same illustrator. And I think there's like a nickname I read for her that called her the laureate of the nursery,
Whoa.
which is quite interesting and prestigious. Anyway, I considered Goodnight Moon, which I definitely had read to me when I was like young enough that like I didn't have memories forming. And it's like one of those things where as you bubble into self-awareness and consciousness, you have an awareness of like maybe a certain piece of like children's media that's played for you or read to you. But I brought The Runaway Bunny because it probably has in some ways a little more emotional heft because my mom read it to me when I was very little. And it's basically about a little bunny that wants to run away and the mama bunny who is calmly and insistently playing this imagination game, this back and forth, talking about how she'll always be there to get him. So without further ado, The Runaway Bunny. I'm going to try and do the librarian. I'm going to try and do the librarian thing and turn it around. Once there was a little bunny who wanted to run away. So he said to his mother, "I am running away."
Yes, voices. We need voices.
"If you run away," said his mother, "I will run after you, for you are my little bunny."
Aw, cute.
"If you run after me," said the little bunny, "I will become a fish in a trout stream, and I will swim away from you." "If you become a fish in a trout stream," said his mother, "I will become a fisherman, and I will fish for you." And then between these passages, there's like a double spread.
Aw, with a little carrot on the fishing line.
Yeah,
That's
full
so cute.
color and everything. There's a little bunny as a trout. "If you become a fisherman," said the little bunny, "I will become a rock on the mountain high above you." "If you become a rock on the mountain high above me," said his mother, "I will be a mountain climber, and I will climb where you are."
Ooh, I like her hat.
Excellent hat.
It's like a red hat with a little flower in it.
"If you become a mountain climber," said the little bunny, "I will be a crocus in a hidden garden." "If you become a crocus in a hidden garden," said his mother, "I will be a gardener, and I will find you." Can you find the bunny?
Ooh.
Hmm.
Oh, I see him.
Oh, yeah, there he is. Sitting in a little flower cup.
Cute. I like the contrast between like the black and white pages and then the full color spread when it's
Yeah.
like almost like imagination versus what's actually happening.
It's kind of inspired.
Yeah.
"If you are a gardener and find me," said the little bunny, "I will be a bird and fly away from you." "If you become a bird and fly away from me," said his mother, "I will be a tree that you come home to."
Mm, the bunny has wings.
I like that one. That one's good.
That one's neat.
That is definitely like, whenever I look at the bunny with wings, I'm like, that's shockingly like, bunny looks like it belongs with wings.
Yeah.
The tree is in the shape of the mom.
A mom-shaped tree. "If you become a tree," said the little bunny, "I will become a little sailboat, and I will sail away from you." "If you become a sailboat and sail away from me," said his mother, "I will become the wind and blow you where I want you to go."
Aww. Ooh, now the baby bunny has ears that are like sails.
Yeah. And a little
Very
flag
fun.
on top.
Flat.
That's nice.
"If you become the wind and blow me," said the little bunny, "I will join a circus and fly away on a flying trapeze." "If you go flying on a flying trapeze," said his mother, "I will be a tightrope walker, and I will walk across the air to you." There they are in the circus.
Wow. So talented, multi-talented.
"If you become a tightrope walker and walk across the air," said the bunny, "I will become a little boy and run into a house." "If you become a little boy and run into a house," said the mother bunny, "I will become your mother and catch you in my arms and hug you."
There's that Goodnight Moon aesthetic.
Yeah.
There it
Yeah.
is.
It does look like the room.
Yeah.
There's also the cow jumping over the moon in a picture.
Yeah.
I don't know which came first, in fact.
Goodnight Moon cinematic universe. It's all connected.
"Shucks," said the bunny. "I might just as well stay where I am and be your little bunny." And so he did. "Have a carrot," said the mother bunny. And there they are.
That's so cute.
Aw.
in their
Aww.
little home. And it looks super cozy.
It is
It does.
cozy. Wow.
Very cozy vibe. But yeah, that is The Runaway Bunny.
That was so wholesome.
Very wholesome.
Wow. no.
I remember, like, I was the kind of kid, when I was dropped off for preschool, I would have to be, like, effectively distracted so my mom could, like, leave without me being like, oh, no.
Aw.
So when I was, like, even younger than that and getting Red the Little Bunny, the idea of, like, I'm going to run away was, like...
Unfathomable.
I was like, no.
So you never tried the I'm running away trick?
I mean, when I was older, I think.
Yeah.
A couple times.
And then your parents are like, all right, have fun. And then you're like, oh no, the real world. I'm not ready for this.
What do you mean by I'm running away trick?
Well, I wouldn't say it's not really a trick on the kid's part, but it's on the parents' part. Every kid at one point gets upset. Not every kid, but a lot of kids get upset maybe to some perceived injustice. And so they go like, I'm not living here anymore. I'm packing my bags. I'm running away to like the train station or the circus or whatever. And you're never going to find me again. The trick is the parents will go, all right, have fun. And the kids will take 5 steps outside, realize that the world is a cruel and dangerous place, and turn right around and come back inside.
I'm more asking about you. Like, did you ever actually pack your bags and pretend to run away?
I think I did like once. And it was, again, the sort of thing where like I got to the bag packing stage and then you kind of just like lose faith in yourself that you'll survive.
Your brain isn't equipped for logistics yet.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, I'll go outside and walk to
Yeah.
oh no.
You get to the end of the street and you're like,
I
this
don't know
is
how
where
to
the
leave.
world ends.
I don't know how to leave my neighborhood. I don't know where to get food.
I do think it's harder in the U.S. because to get anywhere, you really need a car.
Mm-hmm.
So as a kid, like, you really can't go anywhere. I wouldn't ever, like, threaten to run away, but sometimes when I needed, like, space, I would just, like, go to the park because that was, like, the nearest place within walking distance. And we did have some nice parks. So I would just go and I would, like, lay in the grass and be angry for a little bit and I'd come back.
That's nice.
I can picture that very clearly. That's a very Victoria thing to do. I should specify and clarify. This sort of whole like running away, I don't know, tradition. This is in like a very specific circumstance where the parent-child relationship is in a very good spot. And the instinct to run away is less of like I need to actively get away from you.
Yeah.
Like this is a dangerous situation, and more of like I'm upset.
Yeah.
Wah! Right? And the idea is that once you conceptualize the fact that you will no longer have contact with your parents and will no longer have support, that is what keeps you to stay. But like in my scenario, it's like a child who loves their parents very much but wants to run away for some perceived slight, like no more ice cream after dinner or something like that. But then like the realized love of the parent keeps the child from actually leaving. And also the fact that I would have been crushed by a squirrel easily as soon as I reached the end of the street.
Crushed by a squirrel.
Oh, they're monstrous. Squirrels eat birds. A fact
That's
I love
true.
and hate.
Yeah, I remember when I learned that. I
I
think
learned
you
it-
told me.
I learned it playing a card game called Into the Woods that my school had, where basically you get a hand of like woodland critters, and then it's like a food chain card game. You try to like play the creature on the
Ooh.
highest level of the food chain. They like eat each other. And on the squirrel card, it said like eats birds, and my little child brain was like, no, impossible.
It's like, you ever seen that video of a pelican eating a bird?
Pelicans eat anything. They're
That's true. I can envision it more for pelicans because their like bill is so big.
It's true.
Whereas like a squirrel, it's like, how? I don't want to think about it.
Well, you know, you grab it and you sink your little squirrel fangs in.
There's a shocking number of, quote, classically vegetarian animals, unquote, that
Yeah.
will happily devour a carcass.
That's true. It's like squirrels, like you're always like, oh, they like eat like nuts and acorns and whatever. It's like, no, they're carnivores.
Yeah.
Well, they're omnivores.
Sorry to completely derail this conversation.
No, it's...
Oh, it's related. Wow, what a wholesome story.
The other thing it reminded me of is that thing kids do on the playground where it's like you're playing pretend and you're like, I shoot you with my laser gun. And the kid goes, oh, I have laser-proof armor. And the other kid goes, well, my lasers go through laser-proof armor. And it just never ends.
Yeah.
And then the teacher has to break them up because they're both crying.
And this was like written in, this came out in 1942.
Wow.
So that's like 80-ish years ago.
the middle of the war.
Middle of the war. But it's interesting to think about, you know, there's these like very universal experiences that stand the test of time.
Yeah.
I'm going to run away. I have laser-penetrating, laser-proof armor. One of those things. Like, we're not so different, you and I, person from 80 years ago.
Victoria, you ready?
Am I ready? Okay, so I chose the book Stone Soup.
Ooh, a classic.
To preface, I actually did want to pick a different book because there's this book called The Stinky Cheese Man and other fairy tale stories or something like that. I still really want to bring it onto the show at some point. Maybe we'll do a second picture book episode, or I'll just randomly rope you guys into letting me read the Stinky Cheese Man book. But the illustrations are like, it's kind of like dark for a kid's book.
They're like gothic?
Yeah, like kind of gothic. Someone described it as almost like Eldritch adjacent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I think it's like meant to parody common fairy tale tropes.
Like the gingerbread man.
Yeah.
You can't catch me, I'm the stinky cheese man. And everyone goes, yeah, get out of here. We don't want you here.
So when I think about picture books that really left an impression on me, that's the one I think of really vividly. I think because of the illustrations and just like how unique it was as a picture book. But I waited too long to get it from the library. It's okay. But I got Stone Soup, which is another book that is pretty seared into my memory. But in this case, it was more like the vibes of the story, where a year or so ago, I was kind of like, remember I read this book called Stone Soup, and it just was like comforting. And the idea of like making a soup out of a stone was really appealing to me. So I decided I wanted to reread it again. And now here we are. There's many variations of Stone Soup. I actually tried very hard to find like the specific version that I read, and I don't quite remember if it was this one, but I think this is the closest one I could get. You know, like how sometimes like you remember certain illustrations from like a picture book, but it's very hazy. Yeah. And honestly, like maybe this is the book and I just don't remember, but you know, anyways. So that's the backstory. But this one is written by John J. Muth.
It's certainly a cross-cultural story.
Yeah.
The concept of soup. Eating
it's
rocks.
Retold and illustrated by John J. Muth. Because again, like there's many iterations of this story.
You gotta do voices.
I'll try.
Oh no, you're only an accomplished voice actress.
Yeah, you have credits to your name.
But I can't do voices.
No, that's not true. You do old lady in the Buffy show.
Why am I nervous all of a sudden?
No,
I've just been sitting here like enjoying the stories, and now it's my turn. I'm like,
No, I had the same feeling when I opened up Click, Clack, Moo. I was like, oh, the pressure.
Shout out to my librarian who did this like every day. I don't know how she did it. Anyways, okay. 3 monks, Hawk, Lock, and Sue, traveled along a mountain road. They talked about cat whiskers, the color of the sun, and giving. What makes one happy, Sue? Said Hawk, the youngest monk. Old Sue, who was the wisest, said, let's find out. These are not voices. I'm just doing vibes now. It's fine.
I mean, it's coming across.
Yeah, no, it's good. This is one of those picture books where every single one of these picture books could be a painting hung up on your wall.
Yeah. It's very it's like watercolory.
Beautiful.
The sound of a bell brought their gaze to the rooftops of a village below. They could not see from so high above that the village had been through many hard times. Famine, floods, and war had made the villagers weary and untrusting of strangers. They had even become suspicious of their neighbors. The villagers worked hard, but only for themselves. There was a farmer with a chicken. It's Farmer Brown! A tea merchant, a scholar, a seamstress who's carrying, like, bows for some reason. I was like, what does that have to do with being a seamstress? Whatever. A doctor, a carpenter, and many others.
Oh, I love all the pictures of them.
Yeah.
I gotta say, that scholar's pretty intimidating.
That seamstress has, just like is stanced up, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Like
she's
the
like,
tilt
I
of the
made
head.
these bows, and you're not going to get a single one. Because they're mine. Which, honestly, relatable. I also would want to eat all of them.
She's like, this is a members-only club.
Yeah.
This is a members-only club, and I'm the only member.
Also, the carpenter is standing in front of, like, a closet that's filled with, like, vegetables, and he's, like, standing against it trying to keep the vegetables from falling out of the closet, because I guess he has so many. When the monks reached the foot of the mountain, the villagers disappeared into their houses. No one came to the gates to greet them. And when the people saw them enter the village, they closed their windows tight. The monks knocked on the door of the first house. There was no answer. Then the house went dark. They knocked on a second door and the same thing happened. It happened again and again from one house to the next. These people do not know happiness, they all agreed. But today, said Sue, his face bright as the moon, we will show them how to make stone soup.
Ooh, this is an interesting stone soup iteration.
Yeah.
Like they got the recipe.
I'm curious what iterations of stone soup you have heard as well. They gathered twigs and branches and made a fire. They placed a small tin pot on top and filled it with water from the village well. A brave little girl who had been watching came to them. "What are you doing?" she asked. "We are gathering twigs," said Locke. "We are making a fire," said Hawk. "We are making stone soup, and we need 3 round, smooth stones," said Sue. There's a little girl, and there's a cat!
Yes.
It's always a good book
Best
when
book.
there's a cat. The little girl helped the monks look around the courtyard until they found just the right ones. Then they put them in the water to cook. "These stones will make excellent soup," said Sue. "But the small pot won't make very much, I'm afraid." "My mother has a bigger pot," said the girl. There they are, gathered around the little pot.
I gotta say, those are some nice renderings of stones right
I
there.
know.
I could eat those stones.
Yeah.
Make some good soup. The little girl ran home. As she started to take a pot, her mother asked what she was doing. "The 3 strangers are making soup from stones," she said. "They need our biggest pot." Said the girl's mother. "Stones are easy to come by. I'd like to learn how to do that." Look at this big pot.
Yeah.
She's like rolling it on the ground.
Wow, that's a...
Where do you store that? That's my question.
Pot room.
Oh, yeah, you're right. The monks poked the coals. As smoke drifted up, the neighbors peered out from their windows. The fire and the large pot in the middle of the village was a true curiosity. One by one, the people of the village came out to see just what this stone soup was.
What fun composition.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just a white page, and then there's different little windows and doors for all
Yeah.
the people poking out.
Of course, old-style stone soup should be well seasoned with salt and pepper, said Hawk. That is true, said Locke as he stirred the giant pot filled with water and stones. But we have none. I have some salt and pepper, said the scholar, his eyes big with curiosity. He disappeared and came back with salt and pepper and even a few other spices.
Ooh.
This is a giant pot.
Yeah, that is a huge pot.
That's like a bathtub.
Bigger than a bathtub, actually, I would say.
Hot tub. Jacuzzi.
Sue took a taste. The last time we had stone soups of this size and color, carrots made the broth very sweet. Carrots, said a woman from the back. I may have a few carrots, but just a few. And off she ran. She returned with as many carrots as she could carry and dropped them into the pot.
Those are some nice looking carrots. I love the stems on those carrots. Like how
Yeah.
sort of like thin but also bushy they are at the top.
Do you think it would be better with onions? Asked Hawk. Oh, yes, maybe an onion would taste good, said a farmer, and he hurried off. He returned in a moment with 5 big onions, and he dropped them into the bubbling soup. Now that's a fine soup, he said. The villagers all nodded their heads as the smell was very agreeable. I'm getting hungry. But if only we had some mushrooms, said Sue, rubbing his chin. Several villagers licked their lips. A few dashed away and returned with fresh mushrooms, noodles, pea pods, and cabbages.
Oh, good soup.
Yeah, getting it going.
Something magical began to happen among the villagers. As each person opened their heart to give, the next person gave even more. And as this happened, the soup grew richer and smelled even more delicious. I think this is the image that is like in my head of like all the villagers gathered around the pot and it's like the pot's POV. It's good. I imagine the emperor would suggest we add dumplings, said one villager. And bean curd, said another. What about cloud ear and mung beans and yams, cried some others. And taro root and winter melon and baby corn, cried other villagers. Garlic! Ginger root. I didn't need to like put so much effort.
It's so good.
Shout out to Ginger Root, the band.
Yeah.
Just lifts up Cameron. Wait.
Yeah. He shows up. If you say Ginger Root 3 times, he shows up.
And it's very inconvenient for him.
Yeah.
He's got
like,
things to do.
It's such a common word.
He's like, now I have to go all the way back.
No, genuinely, every time I go to the grocery store and I see like the little like tag under Ginger Root, I'm just like, oh, it's fun. Anyway, sorry. Ginger Root side tangent. The villagers continued to speak. Soy sauce! Lily buds! I have some, people cried out, and off they ran, returning with all they could carry. The monks stirred and the pot bubbled. How good it smelled, how good it would taste, how giving the villagers had become. At last, the soup was ready. The villagers gathered together. They brought rice and steamed buns. They brought lychee nuts and sweet cakes. They brought tea to drink, and they lit lanterns. Everyone sat down to eat. They had not been together for a feast like this for as long as anyone could remember.
Wow.
Oh, looks so good.
That's a really cool, like,
Long
double page.
table.
Yeah. The lanterns. So
Where are
fiery.
where are they hanging these lanterns?
It's the same place that Spider-Man swings from.
Yeah. After the banquet, they told stories, sang songs, and celebrated long into the night. Then they unlocked their doors and took the monks into their homes and gave them very comfortable places to sleep. Wow, they're doing like shadow puppets.
Live music.
We got some of that
music.
watercolor back with the blue
Yeah.
against the red of the lanterns. It's cool.
Community.
And the cat.
And the cat. Very important. In the gentle spring morning, everyone gathered together near the willows to say farewell. Thank you for having us as your guests, said the monks. You have been most generous. Thank you, said the villagers. With the gifts you have given, we will always have plenty. You have shown us that sharing makes us all richer. And to think, said the monks, to be happy is as simple as making stone soup. And then it ends with a little cat
Oh,
on the rooftop.
nice.
Wow. Oh, wow. Sorry. The author's note tells you how to pronounce the names. I should have.
Wow, they
Okay,
thought ahead,
Let me
but they put it at
let me
the
read
end.
the author's note.
Yeah, go for it.
Stone soup has its traditional roots in European folklore. There are many versions of the story which have been traced back to France, Sweden, Russia, England, Belgium, and other countries. In the most familiar versions of the story, the soup is made from stones, but in others it has been made from a nail, an axe, and even buttons made of bone. There are also related stories from Jamaica about a soup-making pot, from Korea about a magic cake tree, and from the Philippines about a bill-paying hat. I want to read that one.
Wow.
Nice.
In this retelling, I took the traditional form of the stone soup story and set it in China. I also used the Buddha story tradition where tricksters spread enlightenment rather than seeking gain for themselves. The characters, Hawk, Lock, and Sao... Sorry. I'm Chinese. Sometimes. No. The characters Hawk, Lock, and Sao are prominent in Chinese folklore. They are three deities that bestow health, wealth, and prosperity. Hawk symbolizes good fortune and prosperity. Lock symbolizes good health, family happiness, and mutual love. Sao symbolizes longevity, and he brings good health and long life free from stress and obstacles. That's what I want. In this story, they have taken the form of three Zen monks. In the art, there are symbols from Eastern culture which have specific meaning. A long time ago in China, the color of the sun, yellow, was worn only by royalty. And while the little girl in yellow in our story is not an empress, she is someone quite exceptional. The willows mentioned at the end of the story are a sign of parting. And there are things to find, such as the noodles shaped like the Chinese word for to teach, and the pile of three stones which form the shape of the sitting Buddha. The two instruments the musicians play are called an erhu and a pipa. There have always been Zen poet monks wandering through cloud-embraced mountains, and it seems to me they must have at least once found a village with sad houses and done just what Hawk, Lock, and Sao have done here. That's stone soup.
Stone soup.
Wow.
The power of a potluck.
The power of a potluck and hot pot.
Hot pot.
Hot
yeah.
pot.
I've never heard that version before. I think I've heard a more European version of stone soup. But this was interesting because it's very it's a very generous retelling where the European stone soup is a very like the author said, a very like trickster, like how can I fool these villagers into
Giving me their ingredients?
Not just giving me, because it's the versions I've read is very much like a community oriented version as well, but it's less about teaching a lesson and more about exposing greed.
Ah, I see.
It's always like a beggar comes to town and he's like, please give me food. And the townspeople are like, no, get out of here. And the beggar's like, well, that's fine with me. I know the best recipe for soup ever. And then it's sort of like tricking people into bringing things. The way that the version I read was phrased is like, the stone soup is good enough for a night. But Oh, for a prince, we could use carrots. Now it is good enough for a prince. But for a queen, we could use onions, something like that. And you just keep like ramping up, like this is pretty good, but like for the god emperor of the universe, some chicken would be pretty great. So you just keep ramping it up that way.
I see. Huh. That
Emergent altruism.
At the end, the villagers are never like, we made this soup together. The villagers are like, man, those stones were great. Man, we ought to make stone soup more often.
So instead of like realizing like, the community is what made like the soup taste so good, they're just like, something's in these rocks.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And like as the reader, you're supposed to understand like, so like community, like you said, Michael, community altruism is what made the soup.
Yeah.
But the villagers are all like, caricatured in a way. They were like, rocks, yum, yum, yum. And then the beggar is like, made it work, and then gets out of there.
Interesting.
Not the worst grift in the world.
No.
You get soup out of it.
Yeah.
From village to village, encouraging a small festival to follow you wherever you go, and you get free soup.
Love soup.
But yeah, it is nice that this one is very much like three monks that are like, we're just going around teaching people how to be a better community.
How to help each other out.
Yeah. And I really like how it's three monks at different ages, like 3 generations of monks.
Oh, yeah.
And you can imagine, like, this line of monks continues traveling indefinitely. As, like, one monk ages out, they recruit a new younger monk, and they just keep going forever.
Yeah.
Generations of monks.
I think it's, like, a good lesson of, like, even if you only have a little bit, if everyone contributes a little bit, you can create something really incredible.
And I love how delicious it does sound as you're reading it. Like, I literally ate before we started recording, and I'm like, but you know what would be good right now? Some stone soup.
Yeah.
I want some bao so bad. With, like, the yellow, like, egg custard in it. Ugh.
Ooh.
You're like,
buns.
Forget stone soup. I'm still thinking about that lady with her tray.
A big pot of bubbling soup, but distracted by dumplings.
I definitely have realized recently that I think dumplings are my new favorite food.
They're so perfect and versatile.
Yeah.
And they're so, like, portable.
I love boiled dumplings. I also love pan-fried dumplings. And they just, like, hit the spot. Yeah. I was reading a book recently. Like, it was like a fantasy book and whatever, but the thing I was most hyper-focused on was every time they described dumplings in the book. And I was just like, dang, I want dumplings now.
No.
Yeah.
Jino, you said you had read it. You had read a different version?
Yeah.
Okay, I did the same. Did you read it in school at all? Was it part of, like, some kind of unit?
I don't
No.
think so. I think I did probably find this book originally in my school library in the aforementioned, like, free reading period or whatnot. But I don't think it was, like, a required reading.
Yeah,
But
same.
I could be wrong. Who knows?
I only ask because there was, like, a mini unit when I was in grade school that involved stone soup, which is why I had such, like, a visceral, like, a classic.
Wow, you had a whole unit.
Did you make stone soup?
I guess maybe unit's the wrong word, but yes, we did.
Nice.
Wow.
The whole class, one day we gathered in, like, the gymnasium, and I have very scant memories of exactly what was going on, but we did end up making quote-unquote stone soup, and everyone got to have a little bowl of the stone soup.
Wow.
We should do that.
Yeah.
Like, as a society, as, like, adults. That should be like people have, like, potluck night, presentation night. We should have stone soup night.
I mean,
Which
it's
I guess is
basically
just hot pot.
pot.
It's hot pot night, but everyone brings, like, their own one thing.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So, like, you don't know what it's going to turn out. You don't buy, like, a hot pot kit or whatever.
I'm behind it. I know. Well,
it could turn out terrible.
It could turn out terrible. It could also, all it takes is one person, like, I think everyone in this room deserves to have a wonderful trip and just give it a little something extra. Although if the bowl is big enough, who knows?
There have to be some kind of guideline. But also, like, if someone brings, like, and candy corn, you're like, no, get out of here.
When my friends and I do hot pot, we just, like, we make a list of the ingredients we want, and then we just, like, go to H Mart and we buy them all.
That's awesome.
And then hot pot. Yes.
It'd be nice if Thanksgiving was a little more like that, as opposed to, like, all right, who's making the turkey? All right, oh gosh, well, say goodbye to your day.
Yeah, a lot of times, actually, like, my family will go to, like, family friends' homes for Thanksgiving hot pot rather than, like, a traditional American Thanksgiving. Or sometimes it's, like, a mix where, like, it's, like, partial potluck. There's a turkey, but then there's also hot pot. Hot pot is also very popular for Christmas gatherings. There was one year that I went home for Christmas, and I think I went to, like, 5 hot pot parties.
Wow.
I was just eating hot pot for, like, a week straight, which was, like, great because the nice thing is that each kind of like party has like their own set of ingredients. So it's not like you're eating like the same thing every day.
Yeah.
But I was definitely like, okay, maybe no more hot pot after this week.
I've never been more jealous of you in my entire life. God, a whole week of good soups? Come on.
I love hot pot though.
I just want to take myself to a bar after this. I don't
Do
care
it.
how much it costs.
Now I'm like, maybe I will host a stone soup party. Bring your own rocks. Everyone just brings rocks.
And we're all just like,
Everyone's
well,
like, wait, we misunderstood the theme of stone soup.
that would be really funny though. Everyone's like, wait, I thought you were bringing the stones.
I'm going to run away. I'm going to turn into stones. If you turn into stones, I'll make stone soup and put you in the soup.
Mother, no. Mother, please. I did think, though, they put in way too much water in that big pot before filling it with ingredients. That water's going to overflow.
Oh, that's
You're going
true,
to lose
yeah.
a lot of
Well,
broth.
actually, a lot of the water will evaporate, though.
That's true if they're
Yeah.
cooking it over the full day.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, I once did a sort of like, I don't know what to call it, school-sanctioned role-play exercise at like a sleepaway place. My school did this all the time. It was wild.
Here we go. Another Jino school story. Let's buckle
There's
in.
a lot of details about this that I won't get into because it's a wild story. But the point is that at one point there was a bunch of us and we had a bunch of like disparate ingredients and we decided to all to come together to make a soup with just like someone had onions and someone had carrots. It was very stone soupish.
Yeah.
But we filled the water too high and then we put all the ingredients in and it went everywhere. And we mistimed the rice and it was so under seasoned. It was a disaster. Best soup of my life.
It's about the experience.
Yeah.
Sometimes the soup tastes better because you made it with friends.
Half of me was like, this is great. Like, we're all coming together. We're all kids making something of our own. Like, this would be hard to do for anyone, but we did it. And half of me was like, man, I should have been in charge of the soup, though, because we really messed up this soup. Half of it's on the ground. Oh, it's soggy and gross. The potatoes are like, it's all out of whack, man.
It's okay. You can redeem yourself now.
How?
Make soup.
Oh, I make soup. I make good soup.
Just make soup and bag it and send it to all of those people that...
I think that would be a bad idea.
If you freeze it and then package it with a lot of ice and then send it as an overnight package.
To like a bunch of people I don't talk to anymore that I haven't talked to in years.
Yeah, they
Easy.
won't think it's suspicious at all.
Yeah, I won't put my name on it. There's no label. There'll just be like a big stinky box and they'll open it up and they're just like some half frozen like tomato bisque and they'll be like, why?
Snail mail them later with just, did you eat my soup?
If you didn't eat the soup, I'll be very sad.
They'd be like, who is this?
Did you like? Check yes for if you like.
Okay, now, but put yourself in their shoes.
Yes.
If you got an anonymous box in the mail with half frozen soup with no clue about who sent it or why, and then 4 weeks later you get a letter in the mail that said, "Did you eat my soup?" What would you think? What would you do?
Yeah, I think I would be like, I'm being stalked.
Like, you would move, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you got the soup, that's one thing. That's like, well,
That'd be like, maybe
whatever.
I accidentally got it.
But if you then get a follow-up, that's like, uh-oh.
Did you eat my soup?
Someone wants me dead.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for indulging me in our picture book bonus episode.
And thank you, listener, for indulging us and in listening to these picture books
Yeah.
without pictures. We hope you enjoyed it.
Look up the books. Read them for yourselves. Enjoy the illustrations.
There's nothing wrong with getting some picture books as coffee table books.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
If you have a coffee table in your little apartment, as I do, put some picture books on there.
Just get every possible copy of Stone Soup. So, like, at a given glance, like, it looks like multiple picture books, but when you actually start, like, rifling through them, you're like, wait, this is all just Stone Soup?
Same
That's
book.
actually incredible.
Yeah.
And you top it off with a big rock.
Oh.
Right? So like a nice decorative, like smooth rock.
Yeah.
And then a stack of Stone Soup books.
You know, you're onto something.
It's a conversation piece.
That's true.
is.
This is going to become my brand. Stone Soup.
That's a good brand.
Stone Soup.
And we kind of all came up with it, too.
Yeah.
It's a real Stone Soup of an idea.
Yeah. Wow. Making podcasts is like making stone soup.
Making a podcast is like making soup.
Like making stone soup specifically.
There's a lot of Stone Soup out there.
Some would say too much.
Some would say there's a lot of stone soup with just the stone.
Well, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a comment or a rating on your podcast platform of choice. We like reading the comments, or send us an email at nostalgiaclubpodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at nostalgiaclubpodcast.
And until next time,
Click, clack, moo.
unionize!
Make stone soup
Click,
and run
clack,
away. No.
Click, clack, unionize.
Oh, yeah.
We had 2 very community-oriented books, and then one book that said, no matter how far you run, I will find you.
Oh, gosh.
But like in a nice way.